Hello honeys, Kitaouji Sakura goes through quite the transformation in the Aikatsu anime, which I've discovered by analyzing all of her experiences and motivations. This is a thorough deep dive containing spoilers for the entire original series, including the 10th anniversary film, Starway to the Future. If that's okay with you, let's get started. One important piece of context for Sakura's upbringing is that her family's traditional art form, kabuki theater, is exclusive to men. Aikatsu never mentions that because it's probably common knowledge in Japan, but I didn't find that out until this past month. In Japan, for historical reasons I won't get into, women were once legally banned from participating in theater performances. Most kabuki theater troupes still prohibit women from performing, which is what the Takarazuka Theater, a modernized all-woman performance group, was explicitly created to parallel. Starlight Academy as a setting is based on the Takarazuka Theater's music school training program. Keep that in mind for this initial chapter of Sakura's story. Sakura's grandfather, Kitaouji Kanemon Sandaime, is the 8th generation of a famous family of kabuki actors. He holds the title of Living National Treasure, a real but unofficial term for Japanese cultural figures who receive a government stipend to help preserve traditional culture. Sakura's father, Kitaouji Matsugoro, is the 9th generation. The two of them are probably based on the real 8th generation kabuki actor and living national treasure, Bando Matsugoro VIII. That makes Sakura's twin brother, Kitaouji Sakon, the 10th generation. The two of them grow up at their family's traditional estate, immersed in traditional art and culture. When they're around 6 years old, Sakon starts his kabuki training without Sakura. And since their family is already famous, Sakon instantly becomes a famous actor as well. Although Sakura is very close with her brother, she has been overshadowed by him since they were born. He is the future of their family's traditions, destined for a life on stage and in the public eye. Whereas Sakura can train in as many arts as she pleases, but will never be allowed to step onto her family's stage. Sakura finds things to love about her upbringing regardless. She loves the family coiffus, she masters traditional dance, music, and calligraphy, she picks up a lot of kabuki theater techniques, and she internalizes a deep respect for her elders. But she's still incredibly lonely as her brother's training starts to monopolize the time they used to spend playing together. To cope with her loneliness, Sakura finds escapism in a picture book about Western-style fairies and princesses. A book where the protagonist is given a beautiful dress and taken away to a theater in the sky where she is free to dance. Sakura loves the book so much that she starts writing letters to the author, Green Grass. As Sakura approaches her elementary school graduation, she happens to see an idol concert on TV. A concert performed by the top idol Kanzaki Mizuki. The performance reminds her a lot of the sparkling pages of her favorite book, and she feels immensely inspired by it. She later explains, "That shining stage was forever embedded deep within mine eyes. So such a world exists." Mizuki is a student at a school for young idols called Starlight Academy. Its primary division is its middle school, and it's a boarding school exclusively for female idols. A place so exclusive, so prestigious, and so alluring that it rivals her own family's theatrical mystique. Imagine, a place where young girls perform as fiercely as her male relatives have for centuries. At first, this revelation is more of a burden on Sakura than a blessing. She finds herself with the desire to become an idol, just like Mizuki, but she struggles to build up the courage to break free of her family's traditional expectations. She describes the chains of her home as a restrictive feeling and says that her family, and her brother in particular, oppose her decision to be an idol. She also describes her idol ambitions as a far-reaching dream. But her family members appear to have changed their minds gradually. At some point, Kanzaki Mizuki herself visits Sakura's home to learn traditional dance from her grandfather. Sakura is able to meet and talk with Mizuki, and this may have inspired her family's change of heart. Sakura starts talking more openly about her idol ambitions. She receives permission from both of her parents and her grandfather to apply for Starlight Academy, the same school that Mizuki attends. Green Grass, her favorite author, also designs dresses for idols, and Sakura is allowed to mention her interest in them in a family interview. To prepare for her application to Starlight Academy, Sakura starts jogging daily to build up her stamina. She also practices singing, dancing, acting, and styling the outfits she's collected for her potential debut, including a green grass dress released under their brand, Aurora Fantasy. When she finally gets her application form, Sakura writes down her reason for applying. "I thought that if I attended this school where Kanzaki Mizuki, who was the reason I wanted to become an idol, was also attending, I will be able to use my experience and aim to become a top idol. Thanks to both her extensive experience in the arts and specialized preparation, Sakura's application is accepted. She says that she feels pure bliss when she finds out and receives her school uniform. Sakura's idol debut quickly becomes a highly anticipated event by the public that makes her a media darling in her own right. Unfortunately, her brother's lingering resistance to her plans becomes a dark cloud over her accomplishment. Despite claiming to know her best, Sakon hates the idea of Sakura leaving home to become an idol, so much so that he insists on attending the school entrance ceremony to investigate and find a reason to stop Sakura from debuting. A charitable reading of his attitude, as given in the Aikatsu official guidebook, is that Sakon is an anxious twin brother who is extremely protective of his younger sister. A less charitable reading is that he is a 13-year-old misogynist emboldened by the fact that he was born a few minutes earlier than his sibling. When the two of them get to Starlight Academy for the entrance ceremony, Sakura does her best to ignore her brother and face her new future with optimism, something that Sakon reacts to aggressively, asserting his dominance over her and insisting that he has final say over her decisions. Even while she's trying not to let Sakon ruin her big day, Sakura is still stuck shrinking in front of him and chasing after him. She gets some relief when they're seated separately for the ceremony, and she's able to escape from him long enough to find Mizuki and talk with her alone. They mostly just exchange pleasantries, but it's cathartic for Sakura to be this close to her dreams coming true. After Mizuki leaves, Sakura is excited to meet an older student named Ichigo who introduces herself as Sakura's new trainer. But it's immediately ruined by Sakon, who publicly reprimands her after speaking with her new teachers and discovering that she'll be moving into the dorms. And when Sakura tries to stand up for herself, reminding him that their family already approves of her plans, he tries to physically drag her back to the school gates. Sakura panics and breaks free of his grip on her wrist. Luckily, Ichigo intervenes and advocates for Sakura to stay at the school. Sakon then tells an old story about Sakura being dependent on him as a child, and Sakura calls him out for infantilizing her. But she still can't bring herself to be fully honest with him about her motivations, so she just doubles down on rejecting him. Not even his threat to cut her off as a sibling dissuades her, and Sakon finally goes home. Now angry, Sakura decides to focus all of her energy on proving her brother wrong. She asks Ichigo to train her for the first event of the year, a first-year fashion show. When Ichigo seems hesitant to contribute to their sibling feud, Sakura asserts herself. "I want to become an idol." Their training for the fashion show goes smoothly, and although Sakura is embarrassed about her excitement at first, she eventually opens up to Ichigo. But soon, rumors about Sakura's famous family and the high expectations for her debut begin to weigh on her. Because of Sakura's traditional upbringing and the high-pressure environment of her household, she's learned to be extremely considerate toward others, to the extent that she refuses to trouble anyone with her personal concerns. She wants to be nothing but polished and professional at all times, and she'll gladly isolate herself to hide her true feelings. As luck would have it, Sakura has plenty of privacy in her dorm room. She has a roommate named Satsuki, but Satsuki was purposely designed to have no interest in Sakura, to an extreme degree. As series director Riichi Kimura explains in the animated Aikatsu movie edition, the idea is that her roommate would be someone who wouldn't be likely to become Sakura's friend. That way, it wouldn't be a problem even if she doesn't talk to her. When Sakura's anger wears off and she feels overwhelmed by her new environment, not to mention her unprecedented conflict with her sibling and closest companion, her plan is to hide in her dorm and regret her choices in private. Thankfully, Ichigo is able to reach out to her and convince her that that's a terrible idea. With a grand supportive gesture, Ichigo reassures Sakura that she'll be able to build a new support system as an idol. The two of them go to the fashion show audition the next day, and Ichigo holds her hand through the whole process. So even when Sakura performs and doesn't win, it's just another source of relief. Everyone had expected her to win, and now she's successfully shaken off the weight of those expectations too. To Sakura's surprise, Sakon shows up backstage. He explains that Ichigo invited him, and he apologizes for not believing in her. It's another wave of relief, and Sakura tears up. It had taken a lot of emotional effort for her to stand up to her brother, and she hadn't expected to reconcile with him so soon. Sakon compliments Sakura for doing well on her own, but she corrects him, and thanks Ichigo for her support. Although her idol journey had started with Mizuki, Ichigo has quickly established herself as an equally important role model for Sakura. If she could embody the same reliability and warmth as her new mentor, she would surely have a wonderful time in her new career. As her first year at Starlight Academy kicks off, Sakura begins getting to know Ichigo's circle of friends. She is a little more advanced than the other first years, so she's often paired with the older students for evaluations. In Sakura's mind, that only gives her a better opportunity to learn from her seniors, and she tries to keep a respectful distance from them. Despite those humble intentions, Ichigo's friend group is intent on recruiting her as an equal member of their circle. And when they get pushy about including her in upcoming group auditions, she struggles to reject them. They're all planning on using their premium rare branded dresses and get to work finding one for Sakura. The whole situation is incredibly embarrassing since Sakura has no intention of ever getting a dress nice enough for the performance they're planning. She's been writing to Green Grass, the Aurora Fantasy designer, for years and has never gotten a single response, even now that she's debuted as an idol. She clearly didn't fit the designer's vision for the brand and would never get permission to wear one of their premium designs. It'd also be an insult to them to defect to a different brand after all those fan letters, so Sakura has decided that she'll just go without a premium rare dress forever. After multiple failed attempts to get out of her seniors' plans for her, Sakura is forced to be more direct when they discover the interview where she'd once talked about Aurora Fantasy. She hesitantly explains the situation to everyone and then asks them all to leave. That evening, while her roommate ignores her as usual, Sakura agonizes over the humiliating sequence of events. She blames herself for disappointing her seniors and is so desperate for a potential solution that she texts her brother for advice, and then gets annoyed when he immediately calls her instead of just texting back. With their conflict resolved, Sakon tells Sakura to be honest with her new friends, and she reluctantly agrees to try. The next day, she gets the opportunity to apologize to Ichigo and then follows Sakon's advice by opening up to her again. She explains how demoralizing Greengrass's silence has become over the years, and how it feels like her idol career might be doomed from the start. But Ichigo insists that Sakura shouldn't give up on contacting her favorite designer. She says that everyone spent the night trying to find them for her, and at that moment, they discover that their friend Otome might have already found a way to reach Greengrass directly. Ichigo calls Otome and hands Sakura the phone, presumably so that Otome can tell Sakura what she's learned about the designer. But as soon as Sakura greets her, Otome just issues her a challenge. "I won't let myself lose to the amount of love you have for Aurora Fantasy." While Sakura had been sulking about her lost opportunities in life, Otome had gotten so motivated that she'd gone straight to her own favorite designer and personally demanded a dress from him. "Next is your turn, Sakura," Otome says, and the pressure successfully awakens Sakura's own determination. It turns out that Otome does have information on Green Grass and is able to provide Sakura with the designer's studio address. Ichigo takes her there, and Otome briefs her on the secrecy she'll have to maintain about the designer's true identity. So once they arrive, Sakura heads inside Aurora Fantasy's giant greenhouse alone. The building is literally just a greenhouse, so Sakura wanders around for a while before encountering two identical women in a flower bed. They approach her silently, and Sakura is struck by their ethereal beauty. She recognizes their appearance from the pages of her favorite book and the designs of her favorite dresses. They both must be Green Grass. The designers lead her out of the flower bed, back toward the entrance, and explain that they've always wanted to meet her, but weren't able to write back to her. Instead, they've made her a premium rare dress. It's already ready for her, and Sakura is overwhelmed by another unexpected source of relief. Her favorite designers had never meant to reject her. They'd always been watching her progress, and it just took her belief in herself to come and meet them. Sakura expresses her gratitude, and the designers give her a hug before sending her on her way. She runs back outside to Ichigo and proudly shows off her new dress. With that problem solved, Sakura is able to participate in the group performance with her seniors, and they all succeed together. Over the next few months, Sakura begins to embrace her friendship with the older students. She's grateful for their support as well as the challenges they present as her competitors. Sakura has always been a diligent person, and she finds that she enjoys the competitive, relentless pace of her new career. It's both fun and rewarding to grow alongside people she loves and respects. That's why, when Otome invites her to join a new idol unit, Sakura accepts. She's gotten fairly close with Otome by this point, and is excited to work with another one of their friends named Shion. She's a little surprised when Otome declares herself leader and starts making decisions on the group's behalf, but she finds herself swept up in Otome's confident optimism anyway. Even though the group, which Otome names Poapoa Purin, is clearly destined for chaos, Sakura is excited. She's lived a life of restraint, and having a leader who ordered her to be silly may be the best possible excuse to let loose for once. Even when Shion has understandable reservations about their activities, Sakura has no problem playing the mediator. After all, Shion could use the levity too. Pawa Purin soon gets an offer to join their friends in an official Starlight Academy unit tour under the group name Star Anise, and the trio declines at first. They all have their reasons, and Sakura maintains that she's not ready for such a demanding opportunity, especially since it means traveling and performing with Mizuki, Japan's #1 idol. But the idea is still appealing, and Sakura is eventually convinced to use the opportunity to learn from her role models. Otome joins too, leaving only Shion sitting out to focus on her acting career. They spend a full summer on tour with their friends, and afterwards the 8 Star Anise members become Starlight Academy's 8 most popular students. Conveniently, this makes them all eligible for the Starlight Queen Cup, an opportunity for the top 8 students to compete to be crowned the Starlight Queen, the title that has been held by Mizuki for 2 consecutive years. Sakura doesn't win, but she trains seriously and enjoys the fruits of her labor as new work opportunities continue to find her. There is some loss to navigate when Ichigo drops out of Starlight Academy to move overseas. Still, Sakura loves her unit, she loves her friends, and she loves being an idol. And Ichigo comes back after a year, so all is well. When Sakura and Otome have to work hard to find a replacement for Shion for one of their performances, she even gets a compliment from Satsuki, her roommate. Director Kimura confirms in the animated Aikatsu movie edition that this is the first time they've had a proper conversation, 2 whole years into their relationship. But there is a source of anxiety looming on the horizon. All of her friends are now 3rd-year students, and as spring approaches, so does their imminent graduation. She watches them all start to work on their graduation album. She gets assigned to lead the returning student address to the graduating class. And the whole time, she's preparing for this to be the end of their relationships. Although Sakura braces herself for the heartbreaking reality of separation, she still struggles to get through her class's speech at the graduation ceremony. She remembers how hard it was to leave her family and move into the school dorms. She remembers how permanent Ichigo's departure had felt, and she finds herself already mourning the loss of her entire friend group, all at once. After the ceremony, Sakura disappears to try to collect herself alone. Luckily, she's found by her friends and informed that there will be no heartbreaking separation. They're all continuing on at the next door high school, and over spring break, Otome and Shion go flower watching at Sakura's family home. Another happy ending she'd never dreamed of. With all of her famous friends absent from Starlight Academy's middle school, Sakura and Satsuki become its new student representatives. And after recognizing how much Sakura has changed over the years, Satsuki finally seems to take an interest in her. They decide to pair up for a new competition and join their first ever performance together. As a 3rd-year student, Sakura appears to gain a lot of new responsibilities. She is 14th in the overall idol rankings, just ahead of Shion in 15th. And she seems to become some kind of resident assistant or dorm leader for the middle school, investigating disturbances and helping with administrative tasks like room reassignments. Sakura also leads that year's Christmas party planning committee and collaborates with an exchange student named Miyabi on a traditional arts exhibition. She still spends plenty of time with Paopoa Purin and her other friends, but seems to have found solid footing amongst the younger students too. When her own graduation ceremony approaches, Sakura reflects on her original idol ambitions, her desire to be like Mizuki and become a top idol. The previous year, Otome had been the one to take over Mizuki's title of Starlight Queen. Now, it feels important that Sakura seriously aims for the same accomplishment. It's her final chance to achieve her original dream. Usually, Sakura has no problem hanging out in Otome's enormous dorm building, specially reserved for the Starlight Queen. But once the competition is announced, it feels disrespectful to allow herself to indulge in it. Otome may seem like a carefree person, but Sakura knows how deeply she also respects the Starlight Queen title, and how hard she worked to reap its rewards. Sakura decides that she will only enter the dorms as the next Starlight Queen, and dedicates herself to training alone. When Otome checks on her, Sakura explains her feelings. It is not for the feeling of triumph over other idols that I march on, but rather the happiness that I attain from the pursuit of self-betterment. I want to become an idol of respect like you. So no matter how nervous I may be, Aikatsu is so much fun, I can't help myself. Otome earnestly encourages Sakura, and she's able to participate in the Starlight Queen Cup as a completely different version of herself than she'd been when she first entered Starlight Academy. As her voice actress Kiyono Yasuno says in the Aikatsu official guidebook, It's heartwarming to see this reserved girl now so lively and free to play as she pleases. Before she knew it, she had juniors, and while it was Sakura's first time playing a senior, it was also her first experience growing up and becoming a senior, and it felt very fresh. She grew from meeting seniors like Ichigo, whose bright smile gave her the motivation to break out of her shell, and Otome, who always gave her her hand and encouraged her to take on new challenges, and from being exposed to so many strong emotions. She learned so much from watching her free-spirited and always positive seniors. Sakura wins the Starlight Queen Cup that year and becomes Starlight Queen. She's awarded her victory bouquet by Otome personally, and Otome praises her again. Being the Starlight Queen comes with a lot of new responsibilities, but I'm sure you'll grow into an even bigger flower and become a shining queen. You enjoy working to achieve something. Sakura can't resist giving her a hug on stage. That night, when Sakura moves into the Starlight Queen dorm, she crosses the threshold with a sense of purpose. She unlocks the door, enters the darkened living room, and breathes a sigh of relief. It's real. She's made it. And before she can reflect on it any longer, the lights turn on and her friends surprise her with a party. This time, she can't hold back her tears of joy. Sakura gets way more popular after this victory and graduates in a flurry of promotional activities. She even takes Otome's place in that year's summer concert tour. Popo Pririn keeps going strong, and she's able to rejoin her friends in high school. The next year, she gives a speech at a kickoff event for the Starlight Queen Cup. Back when I first entered Starlight Academy, I had not thought of ever becoming the queen. And yet, here I stand today. At times, you may find yourself with a passing wish to become something else. A wish so quiet it is easy to forget and give up on it. I spent my days determined not to lose sight of that wish. Somewhere along the way, I was able to become a new me. Now it is your turn. What kind of Starlight Queen do you wish to be? Hold that thought close to your heart and set off on your passionate start dash. Sakura awards her successor with a victory bouquet, just as Otome had done for her. The next year, she performs at her friend's high school graduation concert. And all we know after that, a few years into the future, is that she gets her friend Kaede hooked on sake, implying that her entire group of friends has stayed strong despite going their separate ways. Another happy ending she probably never anticipated. Thank you so much for watching. This was a much shorter video than I expected, but it goes to show how happy Sakura was throughout most of her story. There just wasn't that much for her to dwell on. Let me know your thoughts about Sakura in the comments below, and keep an eye out for the Retro Clover Photokatsu ranking in a couple of weeks. Bye bye!
Enjoy your car!